and my friends, Romans, boys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, thank you for tuning in tonight. We have another doozy. A doozy, that's an Espanol word. We have a doozy for you tonight. I hope that you enjoyed this afternoon's program. Wow, we had us a time. We got into some things, and Ed and I have come to the conclusion that we just have to bring Dr. Teresa back again because we had another show after we got off of that show. So uh, here we are. There's my good friend, my co-host, Ed Temple out of Columbus, Ohio. Good evening, Ed.
Oh, hi. I'm not sidekick now. That's good because I was feeling really depressed.
You know, you keep bringing that up. And you try to make me feel bad about that. And I do. I feel bad about that. So, and ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight is Miss Cindy and Mr. Mike Vilardi. Hi, guys.
Hey, George. How are you?
I'm doing good, buddy.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Good.
Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Hello.
Cindy,
yes,
you've had quite an ordeal here lately.
I sure did.
Give us just a little highlight before I play this video.
Okay, so what I was doing was using freedom of speech, which is our First Amendment right. We were standing on public property, and then about an hour or so, we were basically kind of attacked. We were told that we were standing on the grass, and I said, but this is still public property. And then things started happening quickly. Police officers started coming towards us, and it got crazy. I truly believe it was an erroneous arrest I stand out on the street corners all the time. I've been doing it since the Tea Party even started. So that was way back when. So I kind of knew, not to antagonize anybody, but in order just to get the word out. And what the sign said basically is I had a little sign that said freedom. And I had another little sign that says, take your masks off and breathe. Because in our community in Palm Beach County, it is not mandatory or law to wear a mask, but they keep promoting it as it is. And so people don't know. And really what they're doing is hurting their bodies. And I was with another friend who's Latino, and her mother's Latino as well. And we were in a largely Latino community. And because of our concern of them breathing in the same air from their mask and the dioxide that they would be breathing back into their lungs and not getting enough air, and them believing that it was mandatory, everybody's walking around with masks. So we cared about that community to share, listen, it's not the law. It's not mandatory. Just take off your masks and breathe. And from that, I'm not really quite sure who called. That someone did say it was the security guard, but I had no idea at the time. And I was talking to the lieutenant, and all of a sudden he starts attacking me. And 3 other officers start to come up towards me like they're going to gang rape me or something. I don't know. It was pretty freaky. And altogether, there were 17 police officers, 8 cars that blocked off the entryway into this plaza. They had me on the ground like I was a criminal. You would think it was some kind of a drug bust or what do they call it? A sting of some sort. And it was just a few of us just standing out there exercising our First Amendment rights. It was insane.
That is very much insane. So you said you've been doing this a while, for the Tea Party and other organizations. And I remember, go back to the Tea Party, I remember I started getting audited all of a sudden during that time period. It's very strange, like 3 different, from everywhere, from the county taxes to school taxes to federal taxes. Everybody all of a sudden were questioning, and of course, they were micro. Bottom line is that it was becoming a little spooky. But even then, they didn't arrest you, right? So this is actually worse than then.
This was just insane. And then I just need to add that the next night, it's so odd that the Black Lives Matter comes into town, and Antifa comes into town, and that same lieutenant that manhandled me, literally beat me up, because if my husband did that to me, he'd be going to jail for abuse. Okay.
Right.
Is on I-95 with Antifa and the Lives Matter, which is illegal to block traffic on I-95. That's an interstate, handing out water, smiling. I mean, that was like a spit to my face. And I'm like, really? And we're the bad guys? Are you kidding me?
Right.
It was very, very, very just, like I said, I'm going to be 62 this year, and never in my life, in my country that I'm born in, did I feel like I was in a foreign land. It was scary. And the police officers had black masks up to here, black t-shirts on, all in their stance. I mean, there were 17 total. And I'm looking, going, where are these Cuban guerrillas? Where am I? And this is my country. I was very saddened.
Now there was another incident. Was it prior to that, with some other ladies? There
were two other ladies that we were there again, but we were on public property, and they weren't even trespassed when they went there, so they didn't really even know what their charge was. I didn't even know what my charge was. So the day before, they really weren't told what their charge were, and they said because they were on private property, but it's a flea market. So how do you know you're on private property when you're at a flea market? They were going in there to purchase items, you know? And the mom, she got arrested only because she didn't want to give her name and number because she wasn't under arrest. She didn't feel that she had to do that. And they arrested her. Mm. It was just insane. I've never seen such bullying and such egos that would hurt civilians when they take an oath. Their oath is to protect and serve the citizens, and they did not.
So the other two ladies, they were arrested the night prior.
Correct.
And then Mike,
yes.
Mike, you went down to the police station when that happened, right?
Yeah, I was on a radio show with Chris Nelson, and I had just met him literally the day before on a Thursday, and I just met Christina that same Thursday because when I went to pick Cindy up,
right,
Christina, jumped in our car and took a ride with us. So on my radio show with Chris, he said Christina was arrested. So I immediately after the show called Cindy and then went down to the jail. And then Liz Felton, who's a competitor of mine, but a very good friend of mine also, came down and, we got him out and we did a Facebook Live about it.
Yeah, that was, so it was like, Cindy, the next day when you got arrested,
right?
Were you signaled out because of what happened the night before? Do you think
I truly believe it was a whole revenge thing because we did nothing wrong. It was revenge, and it was the little female police officer who wanted a piece of me because what had happened was she was supposed to give me the mother's keys and cell phone. She promised me she'd give them to me so I could give it to her friend. And so when they told me to leave the property, which I did because I wasn't there for any other reason, I said, but ma'am, you promised me that you were going to give me her keys and her phone. I said, you're wearing a uniform, ma'am. You need to abide by integrity. And she just got, she got adamant with me because I kept saying, because I couldn't understand. I said, my father was a police officer for 25 years in Miami-Dade cop. So my father was he had integrity. So I was like blown away that she told me something. She said it to me twice, and yet she still didn't give it to me. So I'm thinking, you're not a woman of integrity, sweetheart. You told me that you would give me these things. And whatever. And she walked away from me. So the next day when she saw me, I saw him kind of look at her. And what Christina says, she saw her puff up like a peacock with the other 3 police officers that came after me. It was a total ego, revenge, going to teach me a lesson thing. And the lieutenant even said, you're riding with her in the car. And I said, I don't want to ride with her in the car. I don't trust her. I'd rather ride with one of you. No, you're going with her in the car. And that's when she left me in the car for a half hour. No window down. I couldn't breathe. There was an elderly police officer standing there about my age. And so I looked at him because I said, listen, my father was a police officer. I said, sir, I cannot breathe. He opened the door for a little bit so I could get some fresh air. I mean, there was no air. It was the heat of the day. It was hot. You don't even leave a dog in the car without the window down.
So just to get this clear, you were protesting. You weren't throwing anything. You never got violent at all. And you got manhandled like the common criminal.
Exactly.
George, you want to play the
clip?
Like
I said, if my husband did that to me, he would be in jail for abuse.
We're going to play this clip. In fact, we'll come back and we'll play it a couple of times tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, this isn't very long, but you're going to get the message. I mean, you'll see. what went down.
Mom, listen. Why are you guys doing? I'm dropping this phone. Why are you guys doing that? No, you guys are going to hell. You both are going to hell. This is her country. This is her country. Mom, relax. Mom, relax. Mom, let me just talk to him. No, talk to him. No. Yes.
That's when you push my arm out there and twisted my wrist and they turned my hand.
Oh, I can't. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't even come close to me. Don't come close to me.
Steps backwards.
No, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
You can feel all you want.
But you're not letting us. You're blocking us.
In fact, I encourage you to.
But you're not. You're blocking us.
We're gonna take your cell phone and we're gonna use that as for evidence against.
Yeah, right. You're not touching my phone.
Wow. Michael, you spent
Yeah.
you spent your entire career in law enforcement.
Yep.
What do you think about that, my friend?
That was bad judgment on the part of the law enforcement officers. Very bad judgment. That's not procedure. I mean, well, they do have a technique that's in the manual called the swarm technique, which they used on her, but it wasn't necessary. It wasn't appropriate. And worse than that, the judge had ruled that there was no probable cause for the arrest. So when we went to court the next day on Christina's case, the judge ruled there was no probable cause for the arrest. So this is the problem. Local police departments do not get the same training as federal agencies do. The reason is cost. And as a congressman, one of the things I'm going to do is make sure that these local PDs get the training, the equipment that they need to make sure that we don't have instances, not only what you saw with Cindy, but what happened in Minnesota. Because, and I'm going to recommend three things that will be effective to stop bad cops. And you got to understand, in this environment, it's very tough to be a cop because you are targeted. From what happened under the Obama administration, if you remember a couple of years ago, where that white cop shot that black guy in Ferguson, they've pretty much gone after cops. They've made it tough on the police officers. Now, that's not a good excuse for a cop to use bad judgment, like in the case with Cindy. Okay, so you have to have a balance because you need a police force. Defunding it is not the case. So what I would suggest is three things. Number one is you need role play scenarios at the academy to see how these cops would actually respond in real life. Put them out there to see what they're going to do. And when they don't have good judgment, you either get rid of them or you put them in a place where they're not going to be out there doing arrests. They shouldn't be on the street. Like, I'm going to give you an example. We have a machine when I was a federal agent called the FATS machine. It's a firearms training system where you go into this room and it's a dedicated room where you have a big movie screen and they give you a gun that shoots a laser, just like, it's the same gun as you carry on the job, except it shoots a laser, and it's interactive. So you shoot at the subject. When you shoot, it tells you where the bullet goes. They shoot back. It goes back and forth. And what it does is it tests your judgment. And if you don't have 100% judgment with that firearm, they take it from you and you don't go on the street. Now, that would be the first thing. That's the kind of training we need. And secondly, they need training in defensive tactics. That's the arrest techniques. If I was going to arrest someone like Cindy, I could do it with compliance within 15 seconds. Quick, bend over at the waist, put your hands behind your back, boom, it's done, it's very professional. Never had to go to the ground in like 22 years. And I went after the Russians when they were stealing the gas tax. I was on the Joint Terrorism Task Force. I was on the Drug Task Force. I mean, I went after some pretty heavy-duty people. But when you're professional and you're well-trained, you don't have to have those scenarios. Just wasn't called for. So you need to go through live scenarios to see how people would react. And you'll be surprised. I mean, when we did the drills, I was surprised. Some of the agents who were otherwise good agents, they were terrible at making arrests. They just weren't good. And I wouldn't want them wouldn't want to be on the street with them making an arrest because they didn't know how to do it. And then the third thing is this. and this would solve a lot of the issues that we have today with the police departments, is you need to have your internal affairs units do undercovers. In other words, if you get, like the cop in Minnesota, this wasn't his first go round.
Right.
He had 18, whatever it was. I mean, he was a large number of complaints against him. So what you do is you set out an undercover agent with a team of IA people. You watch what he does. As soon as he screws up and you see he's bad, you come in with IA, you either cuff him up, you take him away, you take his badge, you take his gun, you're done. You can't afford to have bad police officers out there, because one bad cop caused millions, maybe even tens of millions of dollars worth of damage in New York City, in cities all across this country. Chicago, they burned, they looted. And the fact of the matter was that cop happened to have known that guy, and they were involved in a counterfeit ring together. And they told George, the black guy, not to spread those fake 20s. And when he didn't listen, they didn't want the ring to get found out. So this guy, I think, intentionally did what he did. So it's not a black-white issue. It was the fact that they knew each other, and in order to cover up the criminality they were both involved in, one guy killed the other.
Wow.
Okay, but now if you have internal affairs unit out there where the cops know, hey, when you do something wrong, we're going to be out there, and if we get a complaint against you, we're going to have a sting operation. We're going to send a guy who's going to get in your face, who's going to say, we're going to see how you react. And as soon as you go outside of the guidelines, the use of force guidelines, every police department has what's called the use of force guidelines. Okay, what you can and can't do. Like in her case, the female deputy is not allowed to kick her in the stomach when she's handcuffed. That's way outside of the use of force guidelines. That's a problem. At that point, the rest of the IA comes in, they get the bad cop, they let them know, hey, we're internal affairs, you've been set up, you're done. That would end the problem very, very quickly, because the cops would never know if they're being set up.
Right. It'd make them be on guard on how they proceeded. Exactly.
What I'm wondering is, you were out there for about an hour, Cindy, before all this went down, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Somebody called the police for whatever reason.
Something. Right.
And so here, did they walk up and say, ma'am, blah, 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 or did they just, when they appeared, did they appear to, we're coming to arrest you? I mean,
no, what happened was the lieutenant was by himself, and the lieutenant was talking to me, and he said that they were on the grass, which is still public property. And I said, sir, they're just right there. There's nothing wrong. We're just talking normally. Then the other police officers came. Then I saw him nod his head towards the female deputy. Okay. Then they came to attack. It was like, it was so sneaky that fast. It's like, I didn't know what was hitting us. It was so odd. I'm like, what is going on? There were 17 cops there all of a sudden. They're all coming towards me all of a sudden. It was so bizarre. And then what he did is he told them if they left in 10 seconds, which they did, they wouldn't arrest them. Then they leave me in the car with the windows up after the police officer, the female, kicked me, and he's manhandling me, grabbing, jerking my keys out of my arm and twisting my arm up my back. They put me in the car. Then they go chase them down after they already told them if they left, they wouldn't arrest them. Then he sneaks his hand in their car, unlocks their door, and says, you and you, to Christina and her mother, Linda, you're under arrest. I've never seen, it's bizarre. They wanted a piece of us for whatever reasons. They wanted to teach us a lesson. They had egos involved. They had revenge in their heart because we didn't do anything illegal. We were exercising our First Amendment rights, and they have violated our First Amendment, our Fourth Amendment, and our Sixth Amendment rights. They need to be trained on the Constitution.
Is it possible that your opponent had that set up?
We don't know. I mean, I'm saying who could have called? I don't know. They did say it was a security guard, but I was starting to think, who did this? Because I knew we were out there because I put it on my Facebook for everybody to come. I told them specifically to not park in that parking lot. I told them specifically to park, we're going to be on the sidewalk, that we weren't there to cause trouble. We were there just to let the people know, and people are on the way. So I don't know, to be honest with you.
So you were on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Isn't the sidewalk, every sidewalk is public, isn't it?
Yes.
That's why the judge found no probable cause for the arrest.
Holy cow. Now, wait a minute. So right now they're letting protesters get in the middle of the street.
Exact, on an interstate highway. On the highway where you go 60 miles an hour. They allow them to walk across, stop all the traffic. It's unbelievable. This was like the next day.
And this is Florida. I mean, that's about as free of a state as you can get. What the heck?
Right?
So, hey, Mike.
Yeah.
When the judge said they didn't have probable cause and he just dismissed, Cindy and the other lady.
Well, let me stop you, George. That was at a bail hearing where the attorney for Christina and her mother proved that there was no probable cause. They were actually on public property, so that they were released on their own recognizance. But what's going to happen now, because there was no probable cause, when they go to court, which will be in July 8th, it will have to be dismissed because they had no legal grounds to make an arrest.
Well, tell them also they were released at 10 o'clock in the morning, supposedly. Tell them, Mike.
Yeah.
You need to share that story.
There was one of the jailers, this one guy who Cindy encountered in there, who purposely kept Christina and her mother. Christina was the last person released at close to 11 o'clock at night. All right. So and the judge ruled at 10:30 in the morning that there was no probable cause. So they purposely kept them like an extra 12 hours. All day.
So, Cindy, your case is still pending for court.
Correct. July 8th, which is Mike's birthday.
Yes,
he'll be at court with us.
Right.
That's Mikey's birthday.
Yep.
So when these things happen, Mike,
yes,
and let's just say these things happen, and you end up going to court, and the judge says, "Go away. It's dismissed."
Right.
What we just like this?
No, that's not what happens.
At the end,
because there was no probable cause for the arrest. It gives her legal rights to sue, and that puts the county and the taxpayers at risk because. So
just to be clear, Mike Vilardi, you're running for United States Representative,
right,
in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and it just so coincidentally, is your campaign manager?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Campaign manager.
The campaign.
Okay.
No official title. Yes.
Okay. Well, the point is, somebody connected to your campaign. You've been on all kinds of radio shows. You're well known.
Right.
She just so happens to be on a sidewalk and so happens to get roughed up. I don't know.
Yeah. I would say, as far as your question with the opponents, I would say that this is not something that 4 out of the 5 would ever even think about doing.
Okay.
I mean, Liz Felton actually was there to help. Liz came down. She's been a great asset. She's become a great friend, actually. And Reba.
Yeah, I saw her.
Reba's
George,
another one who.
Some people are just getting on the show. Can you re-show the clip?
Yes. Let's do this.
Okay.
Here is what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, as soon as I hit the right button.
Yeah, you could blow that up.
Mom, listen, I'm dropping this phone. Why are you guys doing that? No! You guys are going to hell! You both are going to hell! It's your country! Mom, relax!
couldn't think of her say that she's American. It is her country.
No, let me just talk to this. No, open that corner. Let me talk to him. No. No. Stop telling me. Yes. Why are you crying?
Here's the deal.
All right, kid, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't even come close to me. Don't come close to me.
Step backwards.
No, don't touch me. Don't touch me.
That bench, you're
Don't
good.
touch me.
You can put it all you want. In fact,
But you're not letting us. You're blocking us.
in fact, I encourage you to.
But you're not. You're blocking us.
We're gonna take your cell phones, and we're gonna use that as for evidence.
Yeah, right. You're not touching my phone. Right. Buddy, get back. Get calling Chris.
Wow. Hey, Cindy, did any of those police officers have masks on?
Yeah, some of them. Not the one that was behind me. That was the lieutenant. He did not have a mask on. The others did, and some of them had black scarves like this. I mean, it looked like they were terrorists. But yeah, but the main one was not wearing a mask at all. Lieutenant Johnson.
So why?
And he was within 6 feet.
So why did they need your phones?
Because they wanted to turn off our videos because we have everything on video, and which is evidence of what they did. That's why they built a wall instantly. You notice the police officers building a wall around so that they would hide what they were doing to me.
Yeah. So I guess where I'm getting at is, when people are, and we are all big supporters of the police overall, but I think the country is at least aware that there's some pretty crappy policing going on and some corruption, as Mike had just mentioned a second ago about the, if you're talking about a gambling ring that's involved in that.
Counterfeit ring.
And that's crazy, really crazy. That should be put on. Why isn't that being played on every network right now? That it's a counterfeit ring.
I mean, I was able to get that information. I think other people too. I mean, he was arrested for the counterfeit 20, but it came out that they knew each other and they were involved in other things together. And my understanding from the information I received was that because George was out there spending those counterfeit 20s when he was told not to, they didn't want the ring to be uncovered. So he the cop purposely, did what he did.
Yeah, because you have a pretty good source on that, I assume, because
I think it'll
pan out that way. But the guys that came, everybody's talking about how they were, had bulletproof vests on, and they didn't seem to be paramedics.
Well, listen, when you have somebody cuffed and he's laying prone on the ground, there is absolutely no reason, and again, use of force manual, where once he's cuffed and he's compliant, he wasn't trying to get up and run away, for you to put your knee on his neck for any amount of time is not warranted. He's already cuffed and compliant. What's the point other than to do him harm? And that's where the problem was. But and this is being looked at as a black-white issue. It's not.
No.
It's a bad cop who was trying to cover up crimes that he was involved in. And he was concerned that if this guy, when he might have talked to the police station and implicated him.
Right.
And he never got that chance.
With all the stuff that's come down the road, I don't know, the last 3 or 4 months, the coronavirus thing, I call it thing. And then you have this, and then you got the marches and the riots and the civil disobedience and all this stuff. And we talked off the air, Mike, how I believe that it's all been a setup. It's been orchestrated. It's been rehearsed. It's been well financed. People have been moved into place here, there, and everywhere. And boom, it starts out with all these. Now here in Delaware, Governor Carney, I call him King Carney. He keeps making 4 degrees. He just boxed us in for another 30 days. You can go to church, but basically you're stifled. You can open your business at 30%. How anybody's going to survive with that, I don't know. But with all these places putting these decrees into place, and then they come upon someone like Cindy or the barbershop man in Michigan, and it's happened all across the country. How many police ended up there, Cindy? All total?
About 17. I counted about 17.
17 to arrest a lady that was standing out on the sidewalk. Using her.
It's pretty disturbing. It's pretty disturbing. I got to tell you, the visual goes in my head all the time, and I sometimes just cry. I'm like, who does that? I mean, if you're walking into a gang situation, you kind of expect that someone might beat you up, but not police. I mean, it's kind of weird. It really freaked me out. Like I said, my father was a Miami-Dade police for 25 years. He's passed away, but he would be grieving to see what transpired. It just was so unhuman, unkind, uncalled for. It was just really a vendetta, I feel.
Do you have, what county are you running for, Mike? What district?
I'm running in Palm Beach County, District 21.
Okay.
Lois Franco is who I'm running against. Lois Franco.
Oh, okay. All right. And isn't that somebody that's been there
30 years?
8 years. I mean, 8 years in Congress, but she's been a politician for about 30 years.
And where is she?
Right.
Right, Mike? Where is she? She's allowing all this nonsense to go on. She's allowing them to destroy our downtown area. She's allowing them to come in. The police are escorting these people and getting beat up. Something's terribly wrong with this picture.
Well, the description I've heard about her is that she's basically she votes everything party line. There's no out of the box anything, just party line vote.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
It's not caring about the people. That's why with Mike, like I said, he actually, both days, he was there for me to come get me. And we both, because I waited with him till 11 o'clock at night, the next night to get Christina and her mother out. I mean, who does that? You didn't see Lois Frankel there.
Right.
You don't see Lois Frankel telling this sheriff and these people, you cannot treat civilians like this. And not a peep. And we should defund Congress, not defund the police department. We need to defund Congress. They are lacking what they're, that's why we need people like Mike Vilardi in office who will take the bull by the horn and who will make the changes that need to be changed. And this should never, ever, ever happen again to another citizen of this country exercising their First Amendment right. This is shameful. This really is shameful. Like I said, I'm older. I'm a grandmother. Okay, they're beating up grandma. And I have never seen such behavior for exercising my rights as an American citizen on public property and being abused like that. My sister said to me, she goes, my God, Cindy, I see that picture. It stays in my mind. I cry. This is horrifying that women, elderly women, senior citizens can get beat up for exercising their First Amendment rights. Something is terribly wrong.
George, you got a couple comments on here.
Mike, point them out to me, Ed.
Terry Bonds.
Okay. Mike, in situations like this where, if it's not a law, how can you break a law? And then when these police come upon situations like this, do they have a prerogative of de-escalating it and just saying, would you please, or you know what I'm saying? Or
that's where training comes in. I mean, this was a situation where they should have been asked to leave. We got a complaint that you were here. If you wouldn't mind dispersing, there'll be no issues. That's why they sent it. So we got a call. That's how it should have happened. And I think that's very important because there was no good that comes out of going after Cindy and Linda and Christina. And they had called me and I was on the way to the scene before they got arrested. And I heard the one cop tell them, we're not going to arrest you. And then they changed their mind and they did. And when I showed up, of course, I was a federal agent. I'm a member of the Fraternal Order of Police. They were nice to me, but that's because, I'm a congressional candidate with a badge and, they did take me to Cindy And, you know, I was able to see Cindy and talk to her. And I'm sure, of course, after this, it'll never happen again, but the damage was done. And I wasn't there to see it. I mean, maybe if I was, it wouldn't have happened. I don't know. I mean, but certainly, they had no idea.
So, Mike, just to be clear, you're running for Congress, and right now we're obviously we're in a time right now, that is, the attention's on police. Do you think your background gives you an advantage in that?
Yes, absolutely it does, because I can give you practical solutions. I mean, none of my opponents.
Tell us a little bit about your background real quick, if you don't mind.
All right. I was a federal law enforcement officer for 22 years. In that capacity, I was a 9/11 responder. I ended up looking for body parts on 9/11 at the Staten Island dumps where they took all the debris. After that, I was assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force. I did a lot of stints with the United States Secret Service, a lot of protection details. Every year we protected different dignitaries that would come into the UN. I protected the president of the Maldives Islands. I was even assigned to Ishaq Rabin one time. I protected people like Al Gore. I was involved in some of the Clinton stuff when he was in office in the 90s. So I did a lot of stuff with the Secret Service. I really enjoyed working with the Secret Service. So I even have an award from the Secret Service up on my wall. I did some cases with them also. I was on the El Dorado Drug Task Force going after the Colombians when they were laundering money. I did a lot of organized crime work. I was in the group that busted the Russians when they were stealing the gas tax in New York in the 90s, and we had to get the law changed because of it. So I had a pretty extensive career, in law enforcement.
If someone comes right up to you and says, all right, you're at the debate, and the liberal media is going to ask you all kinds of questions, and one of them is always going to be, what are you going to do? And it's a fair question. What are you going to do about, they're going to say, institutional racism? So what are you going to do about it?
Well, I think what you have to realize is when you look at the statistics, the last year, there's been more white people shot by cops than blacks. And I think that's part of your training. When you go out on the street, you have these police departments right now are very diverse. Even myself as a federal agent, we had a lot of diverse, whether it be women, whether it be blacks, whether it be whites, Asians. There's a diverse group of people. All right. You got to look at the crime and what the law you're enforcing instead of the skin color. Okay. And that's important. And they do have training for it. You are trained in it. And it comes down to the people you hire. The problem that's really happening now, in all honesty, is they can't give these jobs away. I mean, would you want to put your life on the line every day for $50 grand a year?
Okay, and the other thing is too, Mike. People keep, they loosely use these words. I mean, I think Vilardi is Italian. Am I right?
Yes, you could. It's correct.
So, one thing I know about my Italian friends, they are strong with their ethnicity. I don't care if they're first, second, or third generation. And of course, I go to a funeral. I don't want to say something crazy, but everybody's name is Tony. But that's another issue. But the point is,
because to New York,
right? Exactly.
But the point is, though, lumping people as a group. I don't care if you lump Asians, Japanese and Chinese. They don't necessarily get along all the time. If you go into Florida, maybe the Puerto Ricans and Mexicans, they're not just. You lump everybody together as if there's a group think. That's a scary thing, So I think we ought to get rid of all the prefixes on everything, like an application. Right. Don't ask me what I am.
Absolutely. Be American. You're an American. That's what binds us together. That's what keeps us together. That's what unites us together.
Right, exactly. I mean, look, it matters who you are as a person. Some of the best bosses I've had, two of the best bosses I had on the job were both black men. The worst boss I had was a black woman. They were all black, but, two were great and one wasn't.
Yeah.
It depends what you do.
It's a personhood.
Yeah. I got pulled over twice in the last 3 or 4 years. And both times it was highway patrol, and both times they were African-American men or black men, whatever you want to say. Right. And guess what? And both times they did an excellent job, treated me with respect. They did an excellent job. I don't care what color you are. Who gives a rat's? Right. The idea of this country having playing this, every other day, we have to hear a comparison between, whites as if they're one group. And then, and so on and so forth. Give me a break, guys. Seriously.
No, the people that are behind that are doing that to cause division,
Mhm.
and they want to see this country fail. Because listen, I had that same experience. I was pulled over in South Carolina. The big black deputy had me pulled over 10 minutes. I didn't know what was going on. He comes to the passenger side. Then he sees the badge. He goes, "Hey, brother, how are you? No problem. Have a nice day." I mean, you're very nicest guy in the world. It's how you treat people. That's how people are going to treat you back.
I do want to say something. There's no such thing as races. We're all one race. There's only one human race.
Exactly.
And again, if we see, but we have a part to play. We don't have to buy into that dogma. I don't have to say a white American or I'm a black, and most of the black people don't even come from Africa. You don't have to identify by your color. You identify by your personhood. I am an American. You are my brother. You are my sister. And that's what unites us. That's the dogma they don't want us to have. That's why they want us 6 feet distancing. That's why they want us with a mask on our face. That's why they want us to have division, because divided you cannot stand. But we, the people, can say, you know what? I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to play that game anymore. I'm going to say, you know what? You're created in the image of God. So am I. Guess what? That makes you my brother and my sister. And I'm going to love you. And I'm not going to make fun of you because you're created from the same creator that I am. And if we can change that dogma, I think that we'll do so much better as a people. But we have to choose not to buy into it.
Who polices the police, as Mr.
Good
Vaughn has
question.
asked?
Well, like internal affairs. I mean, it depends on the internal affairs unit at the police department. Now, a lot of times, I mean, I've never seen internal affairs really do stings on cops, which might be necessary after what happened.
That sounds good to me.
Because that's going to do two things. That's going to, listen, the way I would do it is I would wait until there's a complaint on somebody, and then to verify it, if it's a substantial complaint or if there's more than one complaint, then I think it's mandatory. And then if they know that they're going to be possibly stung, okay, by internal affairs, I think a lot of this stuff would stop, because they're not going to take the risk, because they don't know if the guy that they're arresting is someone just out of the police academy who's just playing a role, and there's going to be 20 internal affairs guys coming down in 5 minutes as soon as you violate the protocol of, like I said, the use of force manual. Once you go over the line, because as a law enforcement officer, you're given a lot more latitude than an ordinary citizen is, okay? And you have some indemnity because you're a law enforcement officer when you do make an arrest. Otherwise, who'd really want that job? Every time you arrest somebody, you get sued, I mean, nobody would want to be in that position. So you have some indemnity, but for the same token, you have to follow rules and guidelines. And I think it would be a great idea to do that. I think it would be a great idea to do more role play and give them a little more in the defensive tactics, hands-on, how to make arrests. You could see. You go through the role plays, you can see if the guy's is good or he's not good. I mean, because you're gonna, what you practice is how you're gonna be in real life, right?
Right.
That's what happens. And if you're an asshole, on the language, but it's gonna come out in the practice sessions, and then you got to make a decision. Maybe this person will be better off sitting at the pistol licensing section, but they don't have to make any arrests and just do paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's smart.
Yeah,
that's very smart.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's really a huge answer to the problem for the police, and they will never know, because that's true. Who does the policing for the police? There were 17 people there. Not one of them said to this lieutenant, come over here, let me just have a little talk to you. This isn't right. Why are we doing this? Just let's let it go. But not one person stood up and said anything.
So wait a minute. So Mike is running against, let's see, the lady that is a career politician. And
Lower cycle.
And so what, I mean, and here Mike is an expert on federal police, expert on policing in general. And he's a guy that's worked in the private and the public arena. Yeah. What a perfect candidate. What a perfect candidate.
Absolutely. That's why I'm on his team.
Right.
Team Vilardi.
Yep.
And Mike,
we got the strongest credentials. We do.
Terry said, if I lived in Palm Beach, I'd vote for you, brother.
Oh, thank you. Tell Terry I said thank you. I appreciate that.
Cindy,
tell him he needs to move before the primary in August, because I need the votes. We got 6 people. We got 6 people on the Republican side. I mean, it's a very crowded field.
Cindy, when they got you down to the police station and they took you in, what was it like? What did they do?
Well, they don't really, you're in a strange environment. Okay, it is a jailhouse. There's no ambiance. They're not kind to say, okay, can you move over here? They don't speak to you nicely. They say, get over here. I had to actually pull my undies down and pull up my bra. It was kind of humiliating, basically. They don't, they think that you know their procedure. How would I know their procedure? I've never been to jail like that. I mean, and so they yell at you instead of kind of guide you. So I think, again, training inside as well with these prison guards to keep them to where they understand not everybody's a criminal. I mean, you're just there and you just show some kindness. It's really overwhelming. They put me in cell number 9. They walk you down there. You're there by yourself in a room. Each person's in their own little individual cell. It's kind of dirty inside. It's got a long steel bench. So if you sit on it, the coldness from that really hurts as a female. It hurts your insides. So, you want to stand up more than sit down. They have a little bathroom behind a little wall area there, and it's got chip paint. It's really dreary, ugly, and it's meant to be, I guess. But, this is a holding cell, and they've already got you crucified as if you're guilty. You didn't even go to court yet, and you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So the mentality towards us already is like we're criminals, and it's really bad, especially when you're not. And you walk in there, and you're like, it doesn't make me not a person just because of this. I'm still a human being. So it was really odd,
And this is, again, on a sidewalk, a public sidewalk.
Yes, a public sidewalk.
You weren't in the street.
Nope.
You weren't inhibiting anybody from getting through the
From
sidewalk.
getting into this, or getting in and out wherever
The only thing they have against you are words.
Correct. The
Wow.
words not even spoken that day. None of us. We were all kind. Nobody was hyper. We were just normal, just like I'm talking to you. So they held it over from the prior day. Because it was not like that. I told the officer, I have a flip where I was talking to the officer and said, we didn't come here to start trouble. We just wanted to educate the public and let them know that this is not mandatory, and we were just talking just like this, and it got crazy. I don't know what happened.
Watch this, ladies and gentlemen, one more time.
Mom, listen. If they touch me, I'm dropping this phone. Why are you guys doing that? No. You guys are going to hell. You both are going to hell. This is her country. This is her country. Mom. Mom, relax. Mom. Mom, let me just talk to him. Let me talk to him. No. Stop telling her. Yes.
You can record all you want.
Here's the deal. Oh, I can't. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't even come close to me. Don't come close to me.
Steps backwards.
No, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
You can record all you want.
But you're not letting us. You're blocking us.
In fact, I encourage you to.
But you're not. You're blocking us.
We're gonna take your cell phone and we're gonna use that for evidence again.
Yeah, right. You're not touching my phone.
Are these guys following orders? That's what I really want to know. They following orders, or this is out of character, or they're not trained, or what's going on?
Well, listen, it was a bad arrest. Never should happen. Never should happen. And I don't know if they were following orders or not. I wasn't there. But I told the lieutenant. I said I was going after the Russians, and you're going after 61-year-old ladies for stepping in the street on trespass charges. What's the matter? You got a law enforcement.
Right.
What kind of law enforcement is this? Come on.
Right. Well, just like this whole I'm going to call it so-called pandemic. And there's what I would call it. It definitely is planned. Whether whatever it is, it was definitely planned. I think all the research is there for that. But here's the deal, though. So these here we are. We're on a sidewalk. We're arresting somebody on a sidewalk. The church is not one. I don't believe any mega church, any mega pastor has spoken out about the abuse. Whatever happened to everybody that always, in the schools, they say separation of church and state, which is not in the Constitution, but they keep saying that. But yet they're telling the churches what they have to do. And the churches are just, okay, anything you say, sir. What's going on? What's going on?
I am a minister, and that's when she asked me what I did for an occupation, and I said I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Her demeanor changed, and she changed her attitude, but that wasn't the point. That they would still do something like that, and that's been my question. I'm a preacher. My father's also was a pastor as well as a police officer, and I'm telling you, I am shocked that the churches have not. This was their time to shine. This was their time to stand on their First Amendment rights, and I'm like, where are you? I'm wondering what is going on. I actually had a church that kept texting me about watching them online. And I said, if you can't open your doors, I don't think I want the God that you're serving, because my God says that no diseases shall fall upon me. My God says that he's the healer. So why aren't you opening up your churches? So please do not text me or put on my Facebook to come to your church if you can't even open your doors.
Now, Cindy, you're just being radical. There you go.
Passion. I'm just being real.
You are being real. Listen, my, oh my, Michael, I love you, brother.
Love you too, George.
He's a good guy. He really is. He's got a heart. He's got a beautiful heart, and he's going to fight for the people. He's a people person to fight for the rights of the people. And that's what we need. We need someone who's going to fight for us, the people, because we are being
somebody
abused.
that knows Mike, they say the same thing. They always say the same thing. They say he's a great guy. This is my guy. This is why I support him. So there's no doubt about that. I don't think anyone's going to question that.
No, I've known Mike a long time.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I love him more today than I did the first time I met him.
Dang it. You never said that about me, but okay.
Oops.
But I'm serious. I mean, I follow Mike daily on his Facebook things, and he messages me stuff. And I'm telling you, this is a prince of a man. And he is a man in the truest sense of the word. And he'll do right. He'll do right by people.
Yes.
I will.
You can hear the man's heartbeat. Cindy, the moment that I heard about this, I thought, there goes Cindy. She's always getting herself in trouble. No, I didn't say that.
People say that, but it's only because I tell the truth. And I'm passionate.
I didn't say that. And I thought, my, oh my. Now, if it can happen to her,
right,
it can happen to anyone. And
that's why I'm standing and fighting for something to be done right, because it can happen to anyone who is a true patriot and loves this country. It can happen to you.
And that's why we have to get things changed. That's why there needs to be better training. That's why I think that there needs to be undercover internal affairs investigations to sting some of these bad cops, because one bad cop, I mean, look at Minnesota again, caused tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars of damage to this country. Just one bad cop. And so we cannot stain all of law enforcement because of a few bad apples.
True.
But we have to weed them out. And if we're not effective in weeding them out, then people are going to lose total respect for the police, and it's going to be chaos. So you have to get them the training, the resources they need, but you also have to put something in place where they're not going to go on a power trip and think that they're going to be able to get away with whatever they get away with. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Wow. Listen, guys, well, I know you'll keep me posted how this thing comes down, goes out, works out, whatever it might be. Man, our prayers are with you.
Thank you.
And what's the other lady's name? Christina and her
And
daughter?
Linda.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell them we're praying for them.
I will.
Mike, the best for you, brother.
Yes, listen, Vilardi2020.com, Vilardi2020. We need your support. We definitely need the financial support to compete against Lois Franco, who has over $1 million in the bank. So we're trying to get to that number. So we'd appreciate whatever you guys can do for us.
$5, $10, $15.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever you
Yeah.
can. No little's too small and no big's too big, except for 2,800 is the limit per
Right.
person.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah, because we really appreciate it. Well, I am really trying to make a difference, make a change. I will be, meeting with, I'm going to even meet with the PBA because I think I have the ideas that would make a difference, and I will give them the funding to get the training. But I think you need something like undercover internal affairs units to once and for all stop bad policing. And it would never happen until there's a complaint filed against the cop and they start looking, because look what happened with the case in Minnesota. Again, that cop was, I don't know, he had either 8 or 18, but he had a large number of complaints against him going back 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, this was somebody that should have not been on the street, should have not been in law enforcement, should have been at a desk someplace at best if they kept him on the job. And it didn't happen. And that's the tragedy of this whole thing.
It is. It is. All right, guys. Wow. Another good one. Another good one.
Thank you. George. I appreciate you so much. You're like a brother to me.
I know.
And Ed, thank you for, being a great co-host. I love you guys and I appreciate you.
Well, at least I'm not the sidekick anymore.
Right. You're moving up. You're moving up.
All right, guys. I'll talk at you
God
later.
bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys. You guys, you deserve victory.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you so
Man,
much.
thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. We did 2 shows today. We have 2 scheduled for Thursday. Ed, who's coming on at high noon on Thursday?
Well, we have Terry Vaughn, and we have a guy that goes by the name Saint Kincaid on Twitter, and both are outstanding guests. Both are very much free-thinking individuals. They're not your run-of-the-mill guys. They are very unique in their thought process, and they're going to challenge each other. They're going to challenge people watching, and you're going to have a great show. I am thoroughly looking forward to that because Terry I've known for years, and he's automatically entertainment, but he's thorough in his positions. He's very opinionated. He thinks things through. And Saint Kincaid is a Twitter superhero because he's once again, he is not. You can't push him to go one direction. He's very much open to thinking things critically and making those decisions. So you can't box him in. So both of them are going to be thoroughly entertaining and thoroughly deep discussions. And they're probably going to have some differences. They're going to have to agree on some things. But ultimately, hopefully we get a good discussion and we get all kinds of people tuning in because they're going to be hitting these hard topics that people are uncomfortable with. So people are going to feel uncomfortable. Yeah. But guess what? When they're done, they're going to say, wow, you know what? We can do this.
That's right. That's right. And in the end, they could look back and say, that wasn't so hard, was it? Wow. So that's at 12, high noon on Thursday. And then at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we'll have Dr. Carol Lieberman with us. She is out of California. She has been on every major news show, magazines, here, there, everywhere. And she's going to tell us why America is burning on Thursday night. It is going to be another fun-filled day on Thursday. So please, we'll post it. We'll put it up like we always do. Do me one favor before we get out of here. Start those watch parties. Get these videos out into your news streams where we can't reach. Get them out there. Push them out there. We've got work to do after the shows of getting these things. We went live into our Facebook page. We went live into Twitter. I will take it and put it up on YouTube, and we'll take it and throw it around some other places. So help us get it out there. And I know I know that people will enjoy it. Ed, one more time, buddy. Thank you very much. We worked hard today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
Jeez.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. Be kind one to another. Take care of one another. Watch over one another. And don't ever be afraid to tell someone, I love you. It could possibly save their life. You just never know. So until Thursday, from me, Ed, and all the gang here, thank you for tuning in. We will see you, and I pray that God will keep you right in the center of his hand. Good night, everybody.
God bless.